All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. Today, we are going to be going over amendments 5, 6, 7, 8, and 14. All right, now I told you guys at the beginning of this whole amendment section that we're only going to talk about amendments that really apply to you and the ones that a lot of students over the past years have asked me about to clarify, things like that. So that's why we're going to skip 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. The objective today, we're going to analyze the Fifth Amendment, examine the significance of the Sixth Amendment, and we're going to create an argument on whether some prisoners deserve cruel and unusual punishment. This is something I've heard a lot of people say, oh, this person, they committed this crime, they should be this and that. And it's like, that falls under cruel and unusual punishment. Yeah, well, they deserve it. So, and I've heard this quite a bit for different things that people have done to be in prison. So that's what I'm going to ask you guys. What do you think? Okay, we'll get to that later on. Okay, let's go ahead and get to the warm up. Okay, now the first question asks you about what do you notice between the defendant and the jury? Okay, the defendant is not the man sitting down with the mouth open. You can see that's not the defendant. The defendant is the other person in the chair. So what do you notice between the two? Between the defendant and the jury. Okay. The second question asks you, do you think the defendant is going to get a fair trial? Why or why not? Okay. So think how the defendant and the jury, how are they in nature? Are they friends? Are they enemies? Things like that. So that should help you along. And this does tie in with our lesson today, believe it or not. Okay. So write down your responses. Okay. Pause the video because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right. So on your paper for question number 3, I did make some mistakes. I think I put on there there's 5 rights, I believe, and you might see 6 of them. I didn't count this first part in red. I didn't count that, but anyway, if you want to add it, that's your choice. Okay. Um, it says no person shall be held to answer for a capital crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury. So, in other words, if you're being charged with a major crime, slaughtering a whole family of people and 5 people or whatever, um, a grand jury is not people who actually hear every piece of evidence, the whole case and things like that, the arguments. No, they just basically hear the overall thing of it. They look at the evidence and they basically say, yes, there's enough evidence to go to trial. Okay. Now, if someone is being charged with murder and, then all that the prosecution has is one piece of evidence, the grand jury is more likely going to go, no, you need to get more evidence to try to convict this person of a crime. Just one little piece of evidence. No, you need more than that. So that's what the grand jury is all about. Okay. The next question, or the next thing says on here, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. Basically, it's like this. Let's say I set you up to where I make it look like you murdered me. Okay. You go to jail, you have your court, you go to jail, you do the time, you get out. If you see me in the street, you find out I'm alive, you could kill me on live TV, on TikTok, and all that stuff, and there's not a court in the world who can convict you. Why? Because the thing is, you went to jail for killing me. How can you kill the same person twice? You can't. If a person is deemed to be legally dead, they're dead. That's it. It's over. Okay? So how can you kill the same person twice? You can't. You've already served your time in jail. You already did your time. So there's no way um, you could be convicted of a crime, of that same crime twice. Okay, that's what it means. Because back in the day, what happened was the kings and queens used to basically throw someone in jail, and then when they got out, they would throw them back in jail again for that same crime. And people say, "Well, no, I already did my time. I served um, my time to society." And they'd be like, "Yeah, well, we don't trust you, so we're gonna throw you back in jail." So they would put them back in jail and justify saying they need more time. And it's like, no, they did their time. They were sentenced for this long. They did their time. You can't throw them in for the same crime again. Okay, that's what it means. That's the double jeopardy clause. The next one, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself. This is the one where in court people say, I plead the fifth. If you watch the Chappelle show, I plead the fifth. That's what we're talking about here. Okay. Basically, you don't have to say anything to the authorities or in court that you might incriminate yourself. Okay. We're going to get to this a little bit later. But I had a couple students in class tell me, can you do this in court? Yes, you can. People do it all the time. Problem is this. If you were told somebody, hey, did you do this? And they go, I don't want to answer. And you keep asking, hey, did you do this? I don't want to answer that. Your mind is automatically more likely going, oh, they did it. That's the problem with the Fifth Amendment, is that when juries hear it, or just people in general, they tend to think this person did do it. They just don't want to say, straight up that they did it. So that's like the only problem with it, is that people get in their head, oh, they probably did do it. And they already have that prejudice, that idea about that person. Okay. The next part, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. In other words, the government cannot take your life, can't take away your freedom, can't take away your property unless you've gone through the whole system, right? Unless you've gone through the whole court system and they basically say, okay, yeah, you're found guilty, you need to go to jail, or you're going to be put to death, things like that. You have to go through court. They just can't come and take whatever, okay? Private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Basically, if the government needs your land for widening a road, to put part of the highway going through your backyard, they have to pay you. They have to pay you one way or another. Now, like I gave the warning to my classes, in class, don't get greedy, okay? Don't try to be like, oh, I'm going to hold out for $1 million. Don't do that, because there's a thing that the government can use called eminent domain, which basically shows that if this project, whatever they're doing, if it benefits everybody, then they basically say the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few, and the few is you, the property owner, things like that. So if they're widening the roads, if they can show the city or the state can show doing this is going to make traffic less, you're going to make life easier for people, it's going to make it easier for them to turn off this road without getting in an accident, things like that, then they'll get it. Okay, so if that ever happens to you later on in life, don't be greedy. Um, just if you want to get more, maybe just a little bit more, ask for a little bit more, but don't go a whole, I'm going to wait for $5 million. I'm going to hold out for $10 million. No, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. Okay. Now, they use the eminent domain, that you're more likely going to get less than what you were offered. Just saying. All right. Now, the thing is, the Miranda v. Arizona case. Basically, what happened was this. This guy Miranda is picked up by the police. He's questioned for many, many hours. And finally, he breaks. He confesses to everything. He says all this stuff. And when he goes to court, he gets this lawyer, this court-appointed lawyer, and this guy reads through. He's like, "Jesus, you said all this stuff, you know?" And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Well, why? Why'd you confess to all this?" And he's like, "Well, they questioned me for like, a bunch of hours." And he's like, "Didn't you know you didn't have to say anything?" He's like, "No." He's, "Why'd you ask for a lawyer?" He's like, "I know I can get a lawyer." So there's a lot of stuff he didn't know about. So the lawyer basically said, "Hey, we're gonna file an appeal, things like that." They did that. The case went all the way to the Supreme Court, and basically the Supreme Court said, "Yes, you as citizens need to know your rights, but at the same time, too, because people forget, the cops, the authorities, they need to read you your rights as well." And this is where the Miranda rights come in. Okay, so that's what happens now. Because of this court case, the police have to read you your rights, before your process. Now the thing is, here's the big misconception I get a lot of students having in their mind, that if the cops don't read you your rights, you get out of jail like that. No, 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 no. That's not how it works. Okay? Basically, it's like this. If the cops arrest you, saying you're charging you with murder, they don't read you your rights. You don't say a thing. Okay? Keep your mouth closed. Okay? Don't tell them, "Oh, you didn't read my rights," because you're just reminding them. Okay? You get processed, fingerprinted, all that stuff, right? All you have to say is, "I want to call a lawyer." And you basically tell that lawyer, "I have not been read my Miranda rights." That lawyer, I mean, he could be the dumbest lawyer in the world. He will get there in a heartbeat and basically tell you, the cops, "My client is done talking to you guys. He don't want to talk to you guys at all," things like that. You will have a court date. You show up, and your lawyer, all that to do is this: "Your Honor, my client was not read his Miranda rights." The judge will then look at the prosecution, saying, "Where's the documentation? Where's the proof that this person was read their rights?" If none can be provided, then boom, then you will be the case will be let go. Okay, everything they have against you will be thrown out because, again, they did not read you your Miranda rights. Now, what's the Miranda rights? You're gonna find out right now. Some of you guys may have heard this on TV or on movies, but it goes like this. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Do you understand these rights I have just read to you? With these rights in mind, do you wish to speak to me? The police have these on cards. Some of them have it in their little notebooks and things like that. They carry this with them. Okay. Your next question asks you, in the 4 sections, which have different colors, as you can see, which one do you feel is the most important part to remember? Even if you're like not in the right mind, things like that, you should at least remember this part. Keep this part like in the back of your head. Which part? The one in red, the one in kind of yellowish, the one in green, or the one in blue. Okay, so be sure you write that on your paper. Now, while you're writing that, I'm going to tell you guys this. I've had a lot of students over the past years tell me, well, when it says, "Do you understand these rights?" I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no. It's like, okay, here's the thing. If you say no, they do have another script that is basically broken down explaining it. If you continue to say no, 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 after a certain amount of time, basically they search you up. They look you up and basically see, do you have any type of mental issues where you don't understand certain words, certain things from authorities, some type of learning disability, things like that. If you have nothing, then they're not gonna. They're basically like, okay, you know it. You're just being stubborn. Okay, after a certain amount of time, they basically don't have to tell you anymore, because again, you know it. You're just being difficult. You know, um, what was I going to say too? Oh, yes. And let's say that you keep saying on the court, like, oh, I didn't know my rights. I didn't know my rights. Remember, these guys have body cams now. So if you're doing like, whatever, I don't know. No, I don't know. No, 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 no. That's basically showing that you're being difficult, that you're not like, okay, they read your rights and you go, no, I don't know what you're saying. I don't understand it. I don't get it. There's a difference. You seeing how I did it right there and before. One is contact. It's like you really trying to understand, but you don't understand. That's where they'd be like, okay, let me break it down for you more. But if you're being no, no, nope, nope, that's where it's basically showing that hey, you are being difficult. You understand, but you're just trying to make, you know, being a little booger. Okay. So guys, do not do that. Do not do that. When they tell you, do you understand these rights I have read to you? If you understand it, say yes. When they say, with these rights in mind, do you wish to speak to me? You can say no. And that's it. They can question you all they want. All you'd say is no, 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 no. I don't want to speak to you. I don't want to answer that. Okay. All right. The next part. It says in there like I think I put 6 rights. I believe there's only 5 on this one. So the right to a speedy and public trial. Speedy doesn't mean you get arrested, you have a trial the next day, and then stuff like that. No, 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 no. Speedy is within a reasonable amount of time. Because back in the day, they used to have people in jail for like 10 years. And by the time they had their court case, the witnesses died, they forgot, or they moved away. So that's why they call it speedy. The other thing is a public trial. You could honestly go to a courtroom. I believe someone asked me how old you have to be. I believe you have to be at least 18, if I remember right. You could be 16, but with an adult or some form of adult. But you can go to these courtrooms and hear the court cases, and it's really interesting. Okay. The next part, an impartial jury of the state and district within the crime shall have been committed. Your jury is going to be for the people from that state and from that county, that area where the crime happened. Okay, when they mean by impartial is the jury don't know you. They don't know the judge. They don't know the lawyers. They have nothing to gain if you go to jail or not. They're just going to listen to the case. Listen what your lawyers have to say. Look at the evidence and basically say, are you guilty or innocent? That's what an impartial jury is. They don't come in with prejudices going, oh yeah, they look at with the tattoos. Oh yeah, they're guilty. Oh yeah, they're guilty. Oh, they're from this side of town. Oh yeah, those people are bad. They're evil. They're guilty. That's being prejudiced. You see someone, you're already thinking, oh, they probably did it. They don't want that type of jury members. They want somebody who is going to listen and not make a judgment until they heard the facts. Things like that. Next one, to be informed of the nature and causes of the accusation. So before the cops arrest you, they're going to tell you, so-and-so, you're under arrest for the murder of, for the bribery of, the whatever it may be. They're going to tell you what the crime is. Okay. The next one, confront with the witnesses against them. So let's say someone says, oh yeah, I saw him or her beating a child with a stick and a whip and things like that. If you get arrested, you have your trial, you get to see who basically accused you of that crime. Okay, you get to see them in court. Now, the thing is, the prosecution gets to ask them questions, and then your lawyer gets to ask them questions. The thing is, with the witness part, I know it's tempting, but to say things, but do never say things in court because it just makes it look like you are guilty. if you're telling someone, "Oh, you liar," that makes you sound guilty. So it's best just to keep your mouth closed, let that person speak, let them say their thing. If you have something to say, you write it down and you pass it to your lawyer, and then they'll basically make an adjustment to their case thing, how they're gonna approach that witness. Okay. Same thing if you are the person accusing somebody. If you show up to court, or if you don't show up to court, that your testimony says is going to get thrown out. You have to go. Now somebody asked me, well, what about witness protection? That's why they have people testify in open court before they go on witness protection. They do that beforehand. Okay. The next part, obtain witnesses in his favor, meaning you get to have people say, hey, so-and-so is a good person, he's a good guy, things like that. Okay, you get to have those people. The prosecution can cross-examine them, ask them questions too. Okay. The last part, to have assistance of counsel for his defense. You get to have a lawyer, whether you paid for them or the state appointed them. You get to have a lawyer on your side. Can you be your own lawyer? Yes. Would I recommend it? No. Would a lot of judges and lawyers recommend it? No. No. That's like one of the worst things you can do is basically represent yourself. Okay? It's really honestly one of the worst things you can do. So don't do it. The next part, Amendment 7. The right of a trial by jury shall be preserved. The no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court in the United States. What that means is this. You get the right to have a jury. Okay? Now, if your court case goes perfectly, you cannot have your trial redone. Okay? You can't. The only way you can have an appeal is if something happened. Like in this picture, Michael Vick did these things with some dogs. He had a fighting ring in his home. So in this case, this picture, all the jury members are dogs. So of course they're going to find him guilty. That's where he can get an appeal. Because look at the jury were. He didn't get a fair trial. If like a jury member and the prosecution, let's say they are cousins or they grew up with each other, then you could get an appeal because that person could be biased and say, be like, oh, I'll do this for my buddy, I'll help him out. This guy I knew in high school or college or whatever. But if your case goes perfectly, there's nothing wrong, the jury was good, your lawyer did a good job, like there are times where some lawyers are like, yeah, this dude's guilty. And they tell him, I can't help you. Then they can see that getting an appeal because the lawyer basically saying, you're going away. That I could see. But the thing is, if you have everything is perfect, everything was done legally, and there's no bias or no prejudice in any which way, you cannot appeal your court case. Okay. Amendment number 8, excessive bail should not be required. So if you say you are arrested for public intoxication, your bail should not be $600 million because that's like ridiculous. If you jaywalk, this is excessive fines. If you jaywalk, your fine should not be $700,000. I mean, it should be like $100, $200 max. But yeah, okay. The next part of that is nor cruel and unusual punishment. What does that mean? Okay, that basically means like when you go to jail, they're not going to pull your fingernails out, your toenails out. They're not going to do some inquisition stuff, like they're not going to stretch you, tie you to horses and then have them pull you until your arms pop out of your sockets and your legs pop out of your hip bone, or your pelvis. It's no, they're not going to do that. They're not going to, put red hot pokers and start stabbing you or, piercing you and things like that with hot metal. No, they're not going to do that. Okay. So that's what they mean by cruel and unusual punishment. You go to jail, you stay there in jail. They're not going to torture you, hook you up to a car battery and start electrocuting you. They're not going to do that. All right, so here's question number 1 for you. You're going to pick one of these 2 questions. It's supposed to be 4 amendments. Of the 4 amendments that we went over so far, which one do you think is the most important one and why? So go through them again. If you have to rewind the video, go back. The next one, do you think we should still have a trial by jury? Should we still have jury trials, or should we just leave it all up to the judges and let the judges basically decide? And remember, judges are going to look at the law. The juries tend to have more sympathy and things like that. So, and why do you believe that? Okay, so pick one of those 2 questions to answer for number 1. Okay, we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so the 14th Amendment. This one is basically says that if you're born in this country, you're a citizen. Okay, now the thing is with this amendment is there's a little phrase in it where a lot of people use this to go to court and to basically get to the Supreme Court level. The phrase is equal protection of the laws. Okay. Now, some court cases that went through because of this: Brown versus Board of Education, Roe versus Wade, Reed versus Reed, and University of California versus Bake. Now, the thing is, what does this mean? Basically, it says that the law should be even, right, between 2 parties, whatever it may be. It should be even. It should not be tilted this way or tilted that way. No, it should be more or less even. Okay, a great example. Before Brown versus Board of Education, it was Plessy versus Ferguson. And what that basically said is this: here's white schools, here's black schools. The white schools, they'll have buildings, so will the black school. The white school will have books, so will the black school. The white schools will have chairs and desks, so will the black school. But here's the problem. The white schools, they got brand new buildings, things like that. The black schools would have like a shed or a building that's about to collapse. The white school would have the brand new books, smelling good. The black schools would have torn up books, written on books, or pages missing in their books. The white schools, brand new tables, brand new chairs. The black schools, broken down tables, broken down chairs, like pieces of nail sticking out of it, things like that. So legally, they all both have the same thing, building, books, tables, and chairs. But you have to look at the condition of the stuff. And that's where Brown versus Board of Education came in, when Thurgood Marshall basically said they are not equal. They're not both protected equally by the law. One side is like this. One's all bigger than the other. They got the newer stuff. These got the leftovers. The stuff about to be thrown out. So it's not this level. It's like this. Okay. So that's what it means. Okay. So here's your next question. The phrase equal protection under the law has been interpreted and analyzed like crazy. Do you feel our country is getting better in upholding that promise that, hey, the laws are even, doesn't matter who or what you are, the law is the law and it's going to be even across the way? Or do you feel that's tilted one way or the other? That the laws aren't even towards people. And you have to think skin color, wealth, status, gay or straight, things like that. Do you think the law is even or it's tilted one way or the other? Okay, and why do you believe this? Okay, so write your response, but we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we come to your exit ticket. You're going to answer one of these 3 questions. The first one says, why is the 5th Amendment so important? So go back, look at that, respond. Or you can go to the next one. Why do you think the 6th Amendment is considered one of the most important when it comes to protecting citizens' right in court? So Again, if you forgot, go back, look at your notes, give the answer. Or you can answer this last one. Should some criminals receive some form of cruel and unusual punishment? Why or why not? Okay. Now, the reason I asked this is like at the very beginning, I told you, I've heard a lot of people over the years saying things like, "Oh, well, this person got accused, they got found guilty of this. They should do this, they should do that to them." And I'm like, that's that's considered cruel and unusual. Yeah, well, they deserve it. Okay. You know, I'm no one to say what someone else deserves. I feel strongly about certain things, but I can't make that judgment. What do you think? Should some people deserve harsh treatments, cruel and unusual punishment for their crimes? What do you think? Okay. So once you're done with your responses, you're done with this lesson. Guys, I hope you learned something new. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's 31 minutes. I know there's a lot. Again, these amendments, they're really important, guys. It's about your rights as citizens. So that's why I really go on and on about them, okay? So hopefully you watch the whole thing. Hopefully you listen to it, okay? So you guys take care. You be safe. And I'll see you later, all right?